In the sands of Egypt, buried for centuries, lay a secret that could rewrite history. The Gospel of Thomas, a text once banned by the church, suggests Jesus had a twin brother named Judas Thomas. Was this just a metaphorical claim, or evidence of something more? Today we explore one of Christianity's most controversial mysteries, the discovery of the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas was rediscovered in 1945 near Nag Hammadi, Egypt. Unlike the canonical Gospels, it presents Jesus as a teacher of hidden wisdom rather than a divine savior. At first glance, it appears as a collection of aphorisms, sayings attributed to Jesus. Yet among these sayings, one phrase stands out above all others. Jesus said to Judas Thomas, his twin brother. Was this an innocent linguistic choice, or could it hint at something profoundly literal? Some scholars argue that the term twin, or didymos in Greek, points to symbolic meaning, portraying a spiritual kinship or duality. Others, however, suggest it holds a far deeper implication, linked to Jesus' very identity. Although the text was suppressed for centuries, scholars have uncovered its potential meanings. What makes this unorthodox gospel unique, and why was it buried in secrecy for so long? These questions continue to ignite debates among historians and theologians. Who was Judas Thomas? Judas Thomas emerges within different traditions as a figure of intrigue and contradiction. He's most notably remembered in the Bible as the Apostle Thomas, a man famously skeptical of Jesus' resurrection. After all, wasn't he the one who demanded to see and touch Jesus' wounds to believe? But in non-canonical texts like the Gospel of Thomas, Judas Thomas is cast in a different light. Here, he's portrayed as more than just a disciple. He becomes a confidant and mirror to Christ. This is where the label twin grows particularly curious. Why call him a twin? In early Syriac Christian traditions, Thomas is referred to as Judas Thomas Didymos. Both Thomas and Didymos translate to twin, doubling down on the association. Yet this raises more questions than it answers. Could he have been Jesus' biological twin, or was the moniker purely metaphorical? Could their twinness represent shared spiritual wisdom, or might it point to something more revolutionary? Theologians suggest two possibilities. Either Judas Thomas serves as a symbol of humanity's potential to mirror Christ's divinity, or he points to a literal truth that disrupts foundational Christian doctrines. Was he a counterpart in Jesus' ministry, or another representation of his teachings in human form? The twin theory explained. Now let's dive deeper into the twin theory. The most provocative interpretation of the Gospel of Thomas suggests Judas Thomas and Jesus were not just spiritual twins, but biological siblings, perhaps even identical twins. To accept this premise, we are forced to re-examine many elements of Christian theology, including the virgin birth. Identical twins might explain why Judas Thomas was particularly close to Jesus. If he were a twin, it would make sense that the two shared an undeniable bond, one that may have extended into their ministry. This idea unsettles those tied to traditional Christian beliefs, as it directly challenges Jesus' unique divine nature. Some Gnostics, the early sects of Christianity who produced texts like these, argued that Thomas was privy to secret teachings that Jesus reserved for his closest confidants. In this context, Judas Thomas becomes a keeper of hidden, transformative truths, knowledge that could dismantle early church orthodoxy if widely revealed. One theory posits that Thomas's doubt following the resurrection stemmed not from skepticism, but from an intimate familiarity with Jesus as his earthly twin. Perhaps his disbelief arose because the recorded miracle challenged everything he thought he knew about his brother. Could Thomas have been wrestling as much with divine possibilities as he was with human grief? Why was it suppressed? The Gospel of Thomas, alongside other Gnostic materials, was considered heretical by early church leaders. Why? One reason lies in its radical interpretation of Jesus, not as a savior in the traditional sense, but as a wisdom figure who invites followers to uncover their divine spark. Unlike the canonical Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which emphasize Jesus' suffering, death, and resurrection, the Gospel of Thomas omits these faith-defining narratives. Instead, it focuses on his sayings, teachings, and enigmatic, cryptic messages. Would this absence of crucifixion and resurrection stories make the text less valid, or would it make it more reflective of a human Jesus we've been hesitant to acknowledge? The notion of Jesus as a man with a twin also posed a direct threat to the Church's authority. If Jesus were not singular in his divinity, what does that suggest about the Gospel's exclusivity of salvation? Moreover, the idea of hidden wisdom undermined centralized control over spiritual truths. The Church claimed to be the sole gatekeeper of salvation, while the Gospel of Thomas emphasized personal enlightenment. To ensure consistency with Orthodox Christian beliefs, later councils deemed the Gospel unworthy of inclusion in the canonical Bible. The text faded into obscurity until the remarkable discovery in Nag Hammadi in 1945 rekindled interest in its cryptic words, modern interpretations and mysteries. Today, interpretations of Judas Thomas and the twin theory vary widely. Some scholars and theologians treat the twinship purely as allegory. Perhaps Thomas symbolizes humanity, reflecting both its divine potential and its doubts about transcendence. Others, however, entertain the edgier possibility that Jesus and Thomas were earthly twins from the same womb, a claim that, if substantiated, would unsettle the bedrock of conventional theology. Conspiracy theorists run even further with the idea. They link Judas Thomas to lore about lost royal bloodlines, secret gospels, or extraterrestrial origins. These speculative interpretations often border on the fantastical. Could Judas Thomas signify humanity's dual nature, the earthly and the divine? Or does his story hint at something even more startling, shared ancestry or advanced genetic knowledge among ancient civilizations? Whatever you believe, the mystery surrounding the Gospel of Thomas keeps it alive in the collective imagination. It challenges us to question, are our accepted narratives about Jesus and the early church incomplete, or perhaps carefully curated? What might we still learn from texts long buried and dismissed? The twin theory raises profound questions about identity, divinity, and the ever-paradoxical nature of truth. Could the figure of Judas Thomas represent a human extension of Christ's mission? A partner, a twin, or even an equal? Or was it all metaphorical, teaching us how to see divinity reflected in each other? Thank you for exploring this fascinating mystery with us. If the possibility of a twin Christ captivates you, subscribe for more revelations. Next week, we'll dive into another shocking secret. Why was the Book of Enoch excluded from the Bible? Until next time, keep asking questions, keep seeking truth.